Alright, so today is Bleach Saturday. That means I have a new episode of Bleach 1000-Year Blood War that I want to talk about. And this week's episode is called I Am the Edge. And this is one that I have been waiting for a while because I knew it was going to be mainly action-based. More fighting and less dialogue, which is always fun. You don't want an anime to only cover that, but it's always good when it's done right. This week's episode, of course, we are continuing the war between the Soul Reapers and the Quincy's. The Quincy's have been winning for the most part. Soul Reapers are getting a few wins here and there. This week's episode starts pre-opening song with Yachiru and her situation with Isane as they are in, kind of off healing whoever they can. In this situation, it's two captains that were previously defeated, and then all of a sudden a Quincy Sternritter by the name of Gwenail, I think that's how you say it. He shows up, he starts fucking with Yachiru, and Yachiru attacks just based off of instinct, which is kind of pissing him off because he kind of sees her as an animal because she is, like I said, going off of pure instincts, and she keeps on landing hits on him. She ends up grabbing her sword, and she decides that she's going to kill this guy who is showing up and attacking, but erasing his presence from their memory, which is a kind of crazy ability. And when he disappears, I like how they represented that with the visuals. There's a few versions of how he looks. You might just see his face. You might see kind of like what you know from the Predator movies as a silhouette. And then there's a part where he kind of, the best way to describe it is like a Venom symbiote overcoming part of him, and you can't see his eyes and mouth. They put a lot of effort into the way he looks, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, she grabs her sword and Yachiru slashes him. He thinks he dodges it, and he gets cut in the face, and he's not understanding why. And Yachiru goes on to explain that her sword is a copycat sword, so there's always going to be an invisible blade in front of it and behind it. And when she mentions for them to come out, them being the ability she uses, it looks like two hollows, and the Isane questions is if this is actually her Shikai form, but the sword stays the same, which is not normal. And all of a sudden, the main bad of this episode, Gremmy, shows up, and he just blows away this Gwenail, however he says his name. He just evaporates him. He tells Isane that he already killed the captains, and he's just very nonchalantly walking out of this barrier that's in the room. And Kenpachi Zaraki shows up. Yachiru has tried to attack Gremmy, but her bones are broken, and he says, it's hard to attack when your arms are when your bones are cookies. So it's a little hint at his abilities. Basically anything he can imagine becomes a reality. Kenpachi shows up. He has a very tight-knit, close relationship to Yachiru, so he can always tell where she's at. He shows up, can tell she's in danger, and in that moment before the fighting starts, Isane, shocked that he's there, asks him if he killed Unohana, which he replies that he did, and that was from the previous core of the 1000-Year Blood War, which she has she shows that she has a sense of relief because she knew that's the way she wanted. Let me rewind. Isane knew that that's how Unohana wanted to die, was by the hands of Kenpachi, a man that she respected and maybe loved. Maybe not a relationship love, but maybe more of a parental figure type love, teacher love, but she did love the man. And Kenpachi tells her, hey, if you hate me, you have every right to kill me. Which you can tell she's just, Isane's relieved and she's not going to do anything about it. Gremmy ends up showcasing his abilities again. He takes them, into the sky by creating a pillar. Isane takes the two deceased captains, or she jumps after the two deceased captains, saves them, and she's done with this episode. And as Kenpachi and Gremmy are on this platform, they begin to fight. And as they're fighting, we get to see Gremmy's abilities, which is basically anything he can imagine becomes reality. And Kenpachi pushes them to the point where he notices that Yachiru's arms are no longer broken, or cookies in a sense, and he figures out that Gremmy can only maintain whatever's going on for so long, as long as he's thinking about it. He tells Yachiru to leave and get healed. Yachiru jumps off this giant pillar, and Kenpachi and Gremmy go full-blown fight. Gremmy does not, he seems like he's not worried at all. He throws lava at Kenpachi. Kenpachi attacks him, strikes him, and does nothing. Gremmy says that, as long as let me rewind. Gremmy basically says, hey, as long as you're attacking me, I'm gonna imagine my body is stronger than steel, so you'll never be able to cut me. And Kenpachi, being the madman he is, proceeds to cut him. And he tells him, if you want me to not cut you, you got to think of something harder than steel. So their fight goes on. Gremmy's doing whatever he can. He's doing whatever he can to stop Kenpachi. He puts him in a cube of water. That doesn't work. He keeps on, taking slashes and healing himself, because his whole ability is off of imagination, as he goes, as he's mentioned a few times in the episode. So every time he gets slashed, he heals himself. And Kenpachi kind of calls him out, because Gremmy says he's the strongest Quincy, and Kenpachi's like, well, if you're the strongest, don't you want to be the strongest? Which Gremmy has never thought about, and all of a sudden brings him this joy that some fighters in Bleach have had in the past, where they say they're the strongest and they want to basically annihilate anyone who claims to be the strongest. So as they are fighting, Gremmy decides to step up his game. He imagines a second version of himself, and when that moment happens, both Gremmys imagine a meteorite falling on Soul Society. Kenpachi gets a little happy, because he's never, as he said, I've never cut one of those. He jumps into the sky and he releases his actual Shikai, which is the first time he's done that in over, in the anime, 300 episodes. In the manga, I can't remember how many chapters it was, but it was quite a bit. Since day one, Kenpachi's never had a Shikai, and for him to release his Nozarashi, as it is called, it's a very exciting moment. So he jumps up, releases his Shikai, or his sword, into Shikai form, and he destroys the meteorite that's falling. And while he does this, Yachiru is just looking at him, and she starts to reflect on their past. And that's a small hint towards what's really going on with Yachiru and Kenpachi. And we'll find out more about that as this season continues. So as Kenpachi breaks that meteorite, Gremmy realizes this guy's a monster, and he decides to create more versions of himself. And as he does that, he throws Kenpachi into the vacuum of space. And the second that happens, Kenpachi's eyes, kind of evaporate, and you start to see him kind of thin out, and it seems like he's gonna die. And as most villains do, Gremmy starts to monologue, and Kenpachi hits him with his sword. And this, void vacuum of space that Gremmy threw him in, he's crawling out of it, because Kenpachi's not done. And Kenpachi comes through. It's like 5 or 6 versions of Gremmy jump on Kenpachi's Zaraki and self-detonate, and all it does is blow off Kenpachi's clothing. And in that moment, Gremmy realizes that Kenpachi Zaraki is a monster, and if he is a monster himself, Gremmy needs to become a monster. So he starts imagining himself wielding Kenpachi's powers, and that is ultimately his undoing. His body was not made to hold that power, and it starts to destroy itself. And that's where the episode ends, or that's where the credits start to roll. Post-credit scene is Kenpachi standing over Gremmy, and Gremmy's, his body starts to deteriorate into the Quincy Reishi, and he's explaining how only Kenpachi Zaraki his body can hold that much power, and it's a shame that he's not going to be able to imagine a future anymore. And as his body completely evaporates, there's nothing but a brain in a glass jar, and he mentions how his body that he's been fighting with was a figment of his imagination to begin with. And that's where the episode ends. And one thing about this episode that I really liked is they brought back a few older soundtracks from the previous version of Bleach, and they're remixed or updated for modern times, and they just sound so good. Lastly, the anime and the art just looks amazing. Of course, Bleach they're still killing it. The studio's giving them plenty of time to work. Of course, they're gonna make small corrections in the Blu-ray during the Blu-ray release, but it is absolutely beautiful. There's very few animes that are keeping up with it right now. I'm not saying Bleach is the best looking anime out there. I'm just saying it is very good. This episode, I knew it was going to be very crazy, and it flew by super fast. It's one of those where I wish it was maybe 45 minutes long because I wanted more of it. But I think it had a runtime of 24 minutes. It went by super fast. And a lot of Bleach fans are very happy these days with how the anime is being treated with care and love, and it's shown by the people who are involved in making it. I finally realized the English dub versions are coming out now, so there's I think 3 episodes out. If you like the dub, I'm 100% behind you watching the dub, whatever works for you. I'm a big fan of the English voice cast, even though they have some changes this time around with the anime coming back. They kept Ichigo the same, which was the most important thing, but that's beside the point. So yeah, if you watched it, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I know a lot of people were saying last week's episode was the episode of this season, but then you have this situation, and now a group of different people are saying this is the episode of the season. So there's something for everybody, and I hope you're watching it. I hope you're giving it a chance, but I absolutely loved it. I know Ichigo's finally returning next week, and I can't wait to see him in action with his new abilities. As far as the anime compared to the manga is going, we're flying through it. So that's telling me that they are going to add some more stuff on these last 2 seasons, or they're going to really draw things out, which for me as a Bleach fan, I'm 100% okay with. But that is going to be it for today. I hope some of y'all jump on this Bleach bandwagon, because I am glad to see more and more people trying it. My YouTube feed is very filled during the weekends with the stereotypical shocked reaction thumbnail, which you will never see me do because it makes no sense. But check it out. Hopefully some of you come back, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one.